Welcome back, team. Let's start discussing about the environment and branching strategy. Okay, fine. So firstly, team, I think the first and foremost thing, the developer will start with an environment called the dev environment. So that's an environment where the developers will play around and they will deploy their code and they can test their feature. Let's consider 10 developers are working on your application. 10 developers, for example, 10 developers are working on your application. So then immediately what exactly you will think? You need to facilitate an environment for the developer to test their code. Of course, they can test their code locally. Apart from that, they can use one of your cloud environment which you are providing. They can make use of that environment and they can test their code also. That is also possible. That is where exactly the dev environment came into the picture. Even the Devops engineers today, they will provision one environment and they will give this environment to the developers. Mostly, this environment, testers or stakeholders or business, no one will come into this environment. This environment is delegated to only developers. They will make use of this environment, and also the database, coming to the database also, dev environment database is complete. Most of the cases it will be messy. Okay, so we will not trust anything on the dev environment. If something is not working, something is working, we will ensure that one in the further environments only, not in the dev. But dev will give a confidence only for the developers, not for others. Okay, point you need to remember. Alright. For example, why developers need an environment? See, team, sometimes, example I will tell. Sometimes, generally developers use their local machines to develop their code, right? That's a common thing. Either they can use some Visual Studio or some IntelliJ or Eclipse or Visual Studio Code, can be anything. They will use any one of these IDE and they will develop the code. That's awesome. And they can test their application locally also. That is what exactly we proved in our earlier project also. By running the npm start, that's exactly the starting point to run the React.js application. We tested the application locally. That's good. But all the applications are not so easy to deal in that way. In some cases, you may need to connect with the database which is exist in your cloud. Of course, still you can connect from local to cloud. Some cases, you may need to use a cloud component called API management. Maybe example I'm just giving. API management, which can provide you some authentication and authorization. You need to use that. It may not be possible to simulate the same in locally. It may not be possible. That is why few cases are there where you need to push your code to repository. From repository to you need to deploy in the dev environment. In dev environment, I can make use all cloud components and developers can go there and they can test their application also. That is where exactly the dev environment importance is. So the developers will go there to the dev environment and they can test their own feature. For example, developer 1 is working on the feature 1, developer 2 working on feature 2, developer 3 working on feature 3. They can go there and they can deploy their feature and they can test. But they will collab themselves. Hey, I'm going to test the feature 1. You don't deploy anything. I'm going to test the feature 2. You don't deploy anything. That collaboration usually they'll make. Otherwise, it again very difficult to test their code also. So one environment is clear. There is next immediate environment which you can think about is that could be an SIT environment. What is this SIT environment? When it comes to SIT environment, so what exactly you need to keep in your mind? Okay, SIT environment, generally, dev environment, as I told you, it's a developers. Okay, it's for developers. I'm just keeping the developers here. Okay, I'm just keeping the developers team. That's what exactly I'm just keeping here. And when it goes to the SIT environment, SIT environment mostly, SIT environment testers comfortably test the integration of the application. For example, the developer tested feature 1, feature 2, feature 3 individually. But no one tested feature 1, feature 2 with feature 3. That is where integration testers are required, where the testers or test automation engineers, whoever are there in your company, they will make sure they test automation, even Test automation also, they'll make sure again is these kind of environments, and they'll make sure that test suite is completely okay. Test suite means, I mean, collection of test scenarios. That could be some smoke test or sanity test or regression test, whatever with the testing it is, okay. You no need to deep dive into the testing because that's not your area. That is what exactly this particular SIT environment, okay. Once is this SIT environment, I will show you how exactly the code will move to one environment to another environment, how exactly the code will promote. But just let's understand first importance of the environment and who exactly the person will play with the environment. Let's understand that one first. And followed by, there is one more. This is, usually people will call this one as a pre-prod. You can say this one as UAT also, that and all your wish team, okay, that is your wish. Some people or some companies, especially if your client is really rich, they can maintain one environment as UAT, one environment as pre-prod also. Even that is also possible, team, okay. Even that is also possible, absolutely possible. So these are all the things exactly you can think about, team, okay. This is pre-prod environment. And before to this one, team, you can think a UAT that is optional, okay, not really needed. That's what exactly I mentioned. I can say this is the UAT also, okay. For now, I'm just telling this is UAT also. Okay, so for fine. Now, the last and final environment, which is a production environment, okay. I'm just considering one more environment. This is a prod environment. Okay, good. Okay, fine. Now, the point, what exactly you need to keep in your mind. For example, the developers are here, right? So generally, when the developers are checking the code, okay, whatever the code they are developing locally, when they check in their code to the repository, that's a common thing usually they will do, right? For example, always to make sure their particular code or their merged code into a specific branch. For example, that you will deploy individual feature on the dev environment only for developers. You will deploy merged code into SIT for the testers. You will deploy same merged code after tester certifies. Yes, the code is really good. Then you will move the same merged code to pre-prod environment. The pre-prod environment, especially for the stakeholders. Okay, let's take an example. Stakeholders or any other. Stakeholders. You can think about Scrum Master, Product Owner, Business, PO, Business Analyst, can be anything, team or client, whoever it is. Okay, so they will test your application, especially in the pre-prod environment. That's awesome. And finally, one more, that is prod environment. So when it comes to the prod environment, okay, so in this particularly the prod environment is the one. This is for end user, where we are testing our applications. You are going to the browser, you are simply opening a website over there in the browser and you are seeing an application over there. That is what exactly the public, meaning that the application is live. That is what the production environment. Okay, I'm just taking a case here, production. Okay, I'm just keeping this one. Okay, better let me take it out. Okay, let me use one of these things. I'll change the color. Okay, this is for the production. These are the end users team. Okay, end users means public. Public will make use of that application just to test your application. So just to make sure, I think, to make the business for you. Okay, not to test, to make the business. That is what the public usage here. Okay, this is very clear. Here are the developers. Okay, here are the developers. Here are the testers. And there you can consider one more, which is a BA, PO, Scrum Master, or can be anything, or any client also. Okay, etc. And finally, this is for the end user, who is a public. Okay, I'm just giving the end user. That's all. So these are all the environments usually will always come across in real time, and the correspondingly the persons who are placed at the bottom, they will play with your environment. Okay. All right. Next important point you need to keep in your mind. How to maintain the infrastructure for these environments? Next question. Okay. Firstly, team, for Dev and SIT are called as lower environments. And pre-prod and production called as higher environments. You know why the terminology came? The reason is only one thing. They will always maintain the pre-prod and production as a equivalent infrastructure. And they will maintain Dev and SIT as equivalent. So meaning that pre-prod and prod, the infrastructure is a very high compute and storage. Example, if you use some 4-core 12 GB machine here also 4-core 12 GB machine, here you will use 2-core 4 GB machine, 2-core 4 GB machine or something like that. So meaning that you are maintaining same infra here, that is the highest possible, whatever is really needed for you. And you will maintain a half of it or 70% or 80% of it. You will maintain here just to maintain your business, just to maintain your BAU scenarios. Okay, that is all. And another important thing, why we need to maintain the same infrastructure for the pre-prod? There are reasons just to maintain the pre-prod infrastructure same as production. Reason number one, to test your non-functional requirements. For example, performance test or load test or soak test or stress test. All these testings to ensure you need the similar infrastructure as production. That's why you will maintain the pre-prod as similar to production. That is one thing. And there is one more reason. For example, if some incident happened in the production, incident means we will never call anything happen in the production as an issue or bug. We will call that one as an incident. When incident happened in the production, when the prod incident happened, so we need to test that particular incident in your lower environment. The best suitable environment to simulate the case is pre-prod. The reason for that one is this has exactly the same infrastructure as production. You don't know whether that could be because of infrastructure also. So to simulate or to reproduce that particular issue, we'll always prefer to use pre-prod environment. Right. That is all about environments, and the persons who are listed at the bottom, they will play with their environments. Thank you for the session. See you in the next part.